everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Real Talk. I'm Sammy.
I'm Savannah.
I'm Abby.
And I'm Anna.
Today we're going to be talking about social comparison and social media and how it's affecting women's confidence. The first thing we kind of want to touch base on is how we overcome some of those negative and internal feelings that we face when we start comparing ourselves to others, especially on social media. I want to first ask Savannah about her experience and some of her personal takes and advice for this topic.
Yeah, so this is definitely a really important topic, us all being girls and young adults in today's world. For me personally, Instagram is like the biggest thing. I always compare myself when I see other girls that I know on Instagram, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, they're so pretty. And then I follow it with like, I hate them. But I feel like that's so like harmful to others to say that, and instead of like being like, oh my gosh, I hate them, I'm obviously not being serious, but I force myself to comment on their Instagram post. Like, I will comment like, oh my god, you're so pretty, because it helps me focus, like, yes, they are pretty, but I can be pretty too, and not compare us. Like, we're different in our own way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I think we've all took away some really good take facts from that.
Anna, being a junior in college, how has social comparison or social media affected you, and what have you done in your life to overcome this?
Yeah, for sure. I think social media is such a big part of college life, and just being a teenage girl, it's just something everybody's used to and everybody has. At least for me, I kind of grew up with all sorts of social media, but when I got to college, I kind of like got super busy and had to restrain back on how much I use. So now I don't even have things like Snapchat, but I do utilize Instagram and things like that. But also just going back to comparison, it can be so hard, as like Savannah said, to not necessarily go into downward comparison, but also just go and look at people's posts and be positive about it and just really see yourself in a good light and do what's best for you.
Awesome. That's so nice to hear.
So something I was looking at earlier today is that social media content negatively impacts women more than men. So this can be things like body perception, lifestyle, self-esteem. So I'm sure that's something we've all dealt with. But according to Boston College, 37% of women agree with this. What are your guys' thoughts there?
I think I would definitely agree. I feel like social media has a huge impact on my life, especially being a young female in college and just always comparing myself to other people and what they're doing, and not even just body image, but also other people's success as well. I think when I see other successful people, it makes me a little bit nervous, and I definitely lose some confidence over that. But I think having the friends and the support system I have, that's what helps me and personally brings me up.
I agree. I think it's kind of hard because at this point in all of our lives, I think we're all very vulnerable and we don't really know what we have, like our expectations for ourselves. And seeing all these other people like be more successful or wealthy or like have things we wish we had or we think we wish we had, I think it's really hard, and it's really easy to get lost in comparing one another, and especially thinking about that negatively, like onward to yourself. So it's really good to just take a step back and, like you guys said, like taking a break from social media, or maybe like reflecting on our own lives and our own accomplishments and how that can be a good thing for us. So just focusing on ourselves, really.
Yeah, I agree. Something that I do, I don't know if you guys journal, but journaling, even if it's in my notes app, it helps me so much. Like, whatever I'm thinking, if I'm comparing myself to others, I just write it down how I feel, and it helps me feel so much better.
Yeah, and I also think, especially in today's world, I feel like being young women, we really need to bring each other up instead of using those comparisons to bring each other down. Like, I don't know, I try to like make sure that like, oh, if I see one of my friends who just got an internship, like I want to bring her up, and I feel like doing that, like she's going to be like, oh, well, I'll help you get your internship. So I just feel like that girl positivity is huge, and I think it can really help young women and females.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.